It was a little bit crazy today, telling you.
It's
Been
all good. Hey guys, we are live. You know what? Just give me a few seconds here. We're going to start it on Rockfin as well. It takes a little while to start it on here. But yes, we are live with Dion at MYCNetwork.crypto to talk ArcBlock. Very, very happy for you to come onto the show, Dion. Can you give everyone a little synopsis of who you are and why you're so interested in ArcBlock?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm just a regular investor, that's out there in the crypto space. I started MYC Network a little bit over 3 years ago. My background before I started this company was M&A finance. We were business brokering for companies between 2 million in revenue to 500 million in annual revenue. And, I have a ton of awesome companies that I really love in this space. I've helped build in this space. We've programmed, minted, and did all different types of things with currencies, whether on the XRPL, ETH, Polygon, Binance, things of that nature. So it's always good to communicate with different people within the space because, it's always an honor to meet people that not only want to broadcast crypto, but, that want to build this space as well. So it's always good to just network with somebody else as enthusiastic as me. And I was happy you were really welcoming to us. And again, like we were discussing earlier, anytime you would want to interview with Robert Mao, I would love to put in a good word for you. And, he's very personable and welcoming. And you being in software yourself, I have a big feeling that you guys have a lot more in common than me and you or me and him. You guys probably make a better relationship than me. You guys could probably talk the talk better than me.
Oh yeah, it's all good, man. And for anyone who might be here for the first time, this is Blackrue Investing Channel. I'm Ruell Black. I have a background in software engineering, but also I'm very lucky and blessed to do a show on Benzinga. Benzinga does stock news for TD Ameritrade, Webull, amongst others. And I also have a show on the Gentlemen of Crypto. They have one of the actual longest running crypto show. They've been around since 2017. King and Zay are very, very cool people, and lucky and blessed to have shows on their channel. And I just love investing in crypto. I started out investing in stock, and I was like, wait, so I can buy this thing that's just kind of as mature for like 5 cents a coin instead of buying this for $3 a share. Oh yeah, I'm coming over here.
It is unlocking a big potential for everyone because, back in the day, and I guess we could say that now that we're entering into a new age, you can't fractional buy a stock, you could fractional buy a token though. But the tokenization of ETFs and stocks is coming. I've been paying close attention to several other companies out there that are trying to get into the stock market as well. And, a lot of people think that crypto has more to do with just random internet kids. But, most of the work is being done by the governments for crypto, innovation, I would say, not just in the US, but, globally. So, I'm excited about it too. And it does make it a lot more affordable for a lot of people out there too. So that's always nice.
It definitely is. And you can fractional buy some stocks on certain platforms, but just you get a way bigger bang for your buck with crypto. I feel
Yeah.
like it's such a baby space. You know what I mean? It's so young, and
Do you happen to remember do you happen to remember when the macro market cap what the macro market cap was when you first got in? Or
I have no idea. I just know it was like a little bit before this last bull run, and I was like, okay, this is amazing. And I keep telling people of the real pleasure we have right now being in the bear market before the next Bitcoin halving. So
I agree 100%. What's crazy is, okay, so whether you're looking at the stock market or the crypto market, okay, or any market in general, you're going to have a cycle. You're going to have a bull cycle and a bear cycle. You're going to have bottoms and you're going to have tops, and to be honest with you, I always try to do everything opposite of what the TV screen tells me. YouTube seems to be a little bit more better at this, than the mainstream media. But when I'm watching the mainstream media and they talk about how scary the market is, I can't help but buy the fear a little bit because, when I first got into this market, it was probably about 100 billion in macro market cap. And we rode that to almost 3 trillion, and now we're looking at roughly just under 1 trillion after losing 2 trillion. Now that sounds scary, but I could guarantee you there were more winners than losers in this. And even the winners or the losers that still, maybe they bought the top at the very end of it or whatever the case, they're still buying because of how small and baby this macro market cap is. Even at 1 trillion, there's people still really enthusiastic, even if they did buy the top, or even if some people consider those people losers. People that are within this market now, in my view, are going to be winners from here on forward, because there's not a lot of people that, even after hearing about crypto, are going to get in. And they're going to be too late by the time this thing really starts to take off, and institutions are already here for sure.
Agreed. And we have so many innovations in the space as far as like cloud computing, the metaverse, all things that powers that be, like the World Economic Forum, no matter what people think of them, right? They have big money behind them, right?
Yeah.
So they're pushing metaverse, if they're pushing climate change, and crypto is a part of that. People who invest now are going to be really happy later. Of course, not financial advice.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Of course, never financial advice. You definitely want to do your own research and make your own bets. One thing I always tell everybody, no matter how bullish something is or how great something sounds, make your own bets, because, everyone from an individual perspective is going to make different bets. Somebody's going to move differently if they're 80 years old or 60 or 30 or 18 years old. They're going to, the rule of thumb is the younger you are, I guess we'll just say this, the younger you are at heart for a lot of the people out there, you're going to move as aggressive as you want to, as aggressive as you want to. And I guess that's going to be based on the individual's heart, and I don't know what age that might be for some people, because I do see a lot of people that I work with clearing 60s, and I've never seen people so aggressive, especially this market. So, we'll see how things go forward, but I think there's a lot of upside, personally. A lot of people are scared of the crashes that we went through, but those crashes also happened because people took profits, and I don't think profit's a bad word. I think a lot of people were very happy with the results they had, but also for the ones that didn't get to take the opportunity to take profit, now they have seen the potential, so maybe they didn't get to win this cycle, but they see the potential now, and they'll win for the next one, and they'll be more prepared, and it's, everyone always says, after this cycle, I'm going to be out, I'm going to be retired. I used to say, all right, all we need is one big win and it's over. I could promise you, when you start seeing crazy multipliers happen, the first thing you're going to say is, I got to get back in. I got to get back into another position. So it's a catch-22, but I guess, we're all, when you're in the market, I guess you're educated gamblers, right? I think that's what we're going to have to call it.
Well, on a note, like I was looking at ArcBlock, and like it was very intriguing. One of my viewers was like, okay, check out ArcBlock. They have this and that going on. And I did my initial research, and the community showed up pretty big on my channel. And I was like, okay, like these people, where are they coming from? And then I caught your videos with Robert Mao. And one thing I really noticed was that Robert was very, very honest. And I really enjoyed that about him. Can you go in some depth on your interviews there?
So from a persona perspective, Robert's a very humble man, and he takes his time. He's very strategic. He builds, and he waits for people to come. And you're not going to catch him shilling, or you're not going to catch him overhyping anything. There's a lot. Well, I'll put it this way. As a CEO, I feel like he's going to represent his product, and he wants to showcase that platform because it is a completed product. It's not an idea or a pitch. He's well ahead of the curve. He's created the DID standardization for these digital wallets alongside the DIF, which it has Hyperledger and also Accenture. There's a lot of other companies that he's worked with in collaboration for this standard. And, once you start deep diving into ArcBlock, you start to wonder, what's going on, So when I started talking to Robert a little bit more about, just certain things that I saw, he plays things so close to the chest. I'm like, Robert, you're going to have to tell me one day what's going on here, because, the product itself, you have a Web3 application where it's completely decentralized. And the way he likes to describe it is kind of like Lego blocks. When you get malware or you get censored or something bad happens, you have to disable the entire app. With ArcBlock, you could just remove or improve whatever piece of that application, just by simply taking out that blocklet. And he likes to call them blocklets. So whenever he makes the platform or whatever app any developer wants to make, okay, they're called blocklets, and you can just piece them together, and they're almost like templates that you could kind of put together. I don't want to I can't get too technical with this. This is kind of why I want to invite you to talk to Robert Mao himself. He has a way better understanding, and he could deliver the tech verbiage way better than I can. But, from a bigger perspective, that's kind of the way I see it. It's like a decentralized blocklet structure, multiple pieces that could be taken apart or rearranged, removed, improved based on what you need instead of just replacing the entire app. So that's always good. It also has interoperability between different blockchains. And then you can also, so developers, they have different languages that they want to write in, right? And when you take a look at like Atom, Cosmos, or Polkadot, or some of these other companies out there, these are somewhat competitors, but when you start to take a look at the stats, not really. Cosmos only puts out about 10,000 TPS. ArcBlock does 100,000 TPS, and you could write in any language. I think Cosmos is only Go and Rust. But ArcBlock, any developer that wants to use any language and wants to build on top of ArcBlock, they could use any language, like literally any language. What he wants to do is just make it easy to the point where anybody could develop on the platform, but also easier for the developers to get on there and say, because how many times does developers stop process because, oh, they don't have the language I like. Oh, they don't have this that I like, The customization isn't there, and the customization is what ArcBlock is trying to provide. So that way developers could focus more on just building versus what tools they have, So imagine a universal tool versus a bunch of people trying to pick apart what blockchain, because developers nowadays in the blockchain industry, they get locked up based on what company they want to work with, based on the language they want to write in, or what program they want to use. So this is kind of the big force that ArcBlock is bringing. But what ultimately got me to this level of understanding of ArcBlock was me just researching more on the company. I really like that, he's getting laws pushed through, he's the steering council member of the Washington Technology Industry Association, which is the WITA. And, when I take a look at all the different companies that are in collaboration with what they're bringing forth with DID, which is your digital identification, because think about it, there's a big need for standardization, because think about it. You have all these digital wallets, you got MetaMask, you got this wallet, and all this wallet. But with DID wallet, it's going to consolidate all of that, have interoperability where you could just be using just one wallet, one ID, everything in one place tied to you and you only. And also you being able to control what data gets released and what data gets withheld. So it puts the power back into the individual. When you said you were part of the medical industry, correct? In some sort of fashion, right? Okay, yes. So back then and even till this day, there's always been this giant argument about whose data is it? Is it the patient's data or is it the company's data? Of course, the company is going to say, no, it's our data. We got it. It's our data. It makes it easier for us to work, but meanwhile, they're selling off the data. They're selling it to marketers, they're selling it to other pharmacies and doctors or what have you, or whatever companies that require that data to be sold. They monetize this data. And, this could be also an invasion of privacy. But of course, these companies, they're going to work their ways around these things. But, in the future, when it comes to decentralized identity, the individual is going to own the data, and they're going to have full control over who gets it, who doesn't get it, and when they get it. And I think that's going to be a big game changer as we go forward into the future.
So my guys on my channel, we had a couple questions, but I just want to point out some things that I liked about ArcBlock and about the interview that you did with Robert Mount. I loved his honesty, and I love that he wanted to say that things are going to take time. I'm confident, but we had to take time with it.
Yeah.
I also love that yes, they do differ from Polkadot and Cosmos, but their focus is to have a blockchain agnostic blocklet, is what he calls it, that builds on any blockchain or any type of computer language, so that you can just worry about making a D app, and that's it. You just have your decentralized app. Maybe you're, say, like one example he used in the Amazon Web Services interview was going to the DMV. So the DMV doesn't want an entire blockchain. They just want an app that they can use to, say, fetch user data and get someone their license. So to me, that's very necessary, because there may be a lot of places that may not want an entire blockchain. They might just want to make a creative app. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Harmony blockchain before.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, so they had this really kick butt app called DeFi Kingdoms. They had to really redo DeFi Kingdoms to also put it on the Avalanche blockchain. But if they started out doing that D app on ArcBlock, then it would be very easy for them, according to what everything says, to just move to different. Go ahead.
I think the biggest philosophy that, or I don't know if that's the correct word to use for this, but one thing that I like that Robert has taught me, and and again, look, I'm just an investor, that likes different companies, and I saw Robert, wanted to interview him, and again, I invite you to talk to him, and I'm sure he'll be very open to that, but when I got to talk to him, one of the biggest things that I didn't really take as seriously until he had said it. I don't think people in the crypto space, really, think of this, at first, because you're so under the euphoria of everything's blockchain. Everything needs to be blockchain. Put everything on the blockchain, And Robert, when I was talking to him, he's like, not everything needs to be on the blockchain. Some things should be on the blockchain, but some things don't need to be. And if there's a platform that could separate itself but be interoperable with different blockchains, then it'll make more sense where, these people could stay on the layer that they want, but still use another platform to get what they need to get done business logic wise. And I think that's a bigger, I think that's a better way to look at things, because everyone's just, I don't know if this has to do with just marketing, where people just want to just hammer down on anything blockchain. You know what I mean? Because blockchain is just a database. That's all. It's just a database, So, I don't think that it requires everything to be tied to it. Some things have to be able to be removed, edited, taken away, and you can't do if you continuously put something that's permanent or immutable onto a blockchain, and let's say, you're not a healthy person today, maybe you're healthy in 5 years, or maybe you don't have those ailments anymore. There has to be a certain level of customization for an individual, because when you start getting into the DID, yeah, you can go to the identification part of everything, but what about other things that you need, your medical records or, your health status, things of that nature. You take a look at IBM Health Pass. And here's another thing, a lot of these companies have worked with Robert himself too. I don't know have you ever taken a look at like ID2020.org or anything like that, or trust over IP? A lot of these companies are trying to synergize or collaborate with each other to bring about that DID standardization, but also bring about, what the consensus is. And, because you have to think about it. You can make the technology and it could work perfectly, because DID is the front runner. That's the best technology that's out in the forefront. Jack Dorsey's Blue Sky, and I forget the other product he just came out with, or he's trying to come out with Web 5, which to me is a ring word, but he's using DID standardization, and Robert Mell brought that forth. So I think there's a lot of people don't understand just how much effort and how much of a footprint he's put into this sector. Because you got to think about it. These wallets, we think of ID or identification, but these digital IDs are going to be our new banks. They're going to be our new bank accounts. So, we have to get this right, and there needs to be consensus between not only multiple companies. Right now, I think when I first met him, there was 160 companies working on this. Now there is over 200, and by the end of the year, there'll be over 360 companies working on this. So you have to have the consensus between all these companies, but also these governments, because once you get this technology put together, once you get the companies in line, okay, now it goes into government, because once you're looking at government, now you're going into, okay, this is a system. We want to kind of have this decentralization process, but how far can we take it, given the government wants certain powers, or, companies want certain powers? What's the consensus on that? How much privacy is supposed to be given away? How much privacy is required? These are just certain questions that I think even on an individual level, people have to think about, So
Gotcha.
it's quite a big project, I would think.
So that leads into one of the questions that we had over here on my side with my guys. The team, when you go onto the website, the leadership and the team links don't work on the website. And for a lot of people, that really unnerved them. They were like, okay, why isn't, why isn't the team here? That only takes a few seconds to do. Maybe that's a question that I had to ask to Robert if I get a chance to interview him. But what do you think about that?
I think it's a good question. But I have come up with a variety of different reasons as to why that is. And keep in mind, guys, and ladies out there, I'm not a representative of ArcBlock, okay? I'm just someone that has taken great interest in it based on my research. And, if you spent a solid 20 minutes to deep dive on this company, you'll get answers, but you're going to get a lot more questions, because I think this is bigger than people think. But I personally believe that I think that he wanted this product to be complete by the time he came out, because a lot of companies right now in the crypto space are racing to have a Web3 platform. Take a look at what's going on with Twitter, Parler, Deso, and stuff like that. And a lot of these companies, they're clunky. They don't have the technology for real decentralization. They need an architecture. They need a framework that'll allow decentralization to happen. And I believe that's where Blocklet is going to come in. These Blocklets are going to be really essential to defense against censorship, but defense against malware or malice actors out there. Because if something does get corrupted or something's not working correctly, you don't need to shut down the whole app. You could just remove one blocklet like a Lego piece and then replace it with what needs to be improved, or whatever the case. But I think that he wanted to have this thing complete, because from you take a look at it, he worked with a variety of different people that have come and go just based on what needed to be done at that time. Because I believe this started somewhere around the 2018 mark. He had worked with Ding Li. Ding Li is a billionaire investor, also a personal friend of Robert Mell, that invested in ArcBlock at ICO. And he's the CEO of NetEase. And, there's just little dots that I like to connect. Ding Li bought Elon Musk's last mansion. I thought that was interesting. ArcBlock also worked on Elon City with NetEase too, or with Ding Li. So these are just little things that I see in the background, you know, like just different ventures that I've seen them do together where I'm like, okay, what is going on here, you know?
I was checking out the some articles, and I saw someone named I think it's Tian Chen. Is he still working with the team at ArcBlock?
I believe he is. And then there's hold on. I have a list of just certain people that he has worked with, but give me one sec.
Sure. And then while you're looking up that list, I also went and I checked out the Concordia Council, and I saw that he sat on the board with BlackRock and a whole bunch of other companies, and he's a steering member. But to me, like it didn't mean partnership. It's like, okay,
collaboration.
Right. Yeah. You're in the room with these people, which is great. You're in the room with a lot of people that, you know, have a lot of big impact. But are there any partnerships like say like, okay, so say like, okay, Solana's working with Helium to get the whole Solana phone thing working, and they're working with T-Mobile. Like, are there any partnerships? Because to me, that was, yeah, like you said, it was more of like a collaboration.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I asked them about these things too, where I'm like, hey, you know, so I know you're working collaboration with these companies, you know, companies when they're doing something like DID, I don't think they need direct partnerships, but I do think they need, I mean, again, you need consensus. So you do have a lot of companies that got to come together, and I think it'll be a synergy between multiple companies to get this done. I don't think it's just going to be ArcBlock. I've seen a variety of companies come together on something like this where it's just kind of interesting to learn about, you know. Another I'm trying to see if I could get a little bit closer on this picture here.
Okay. And like I said, I like the fact that he wants to use blocklets, and that's more kind of cloud computing and more like blockchain agnostic. I really see a need for that because a lot of companies are going to come in and say, look, I don't want to have my developers learn this. Like, okay, I don't want to use the blockchain. I rather use Amazon Web Services as a database. I rather use Microsoft Azure as a database. Our stuff's already in there. Why would I go now put it on the blockchain? So to me, that made sense. I just wanted to piece together some more parts of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just go through some of the people that he's worked with, you know, because I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. So I'll read them off to you, okay?
Yeah.
But it just kind of gives you an idea of just the people that have worked with him up to this point. Now, again, some of these people have done what they wanted to do at that time, and they're moved on to another venture and stuff like that, you know? So you have Ding Li of NetEase. Okay, that's a gaming giant in China. Okay, they do have I think it's like Quantum Dreams or something like that. It's on the use case for the website. But if you go to use cases on the ArcBlock.io, it'll show you just different companies that are currently working on it, like BlockSec, and then I think it's called Quantum Dreams. It's a gaming company. They also just bought like the Star Wars video game producer too. So I thought that was kind of interesting. There's just little things that are going on. It's kind of like an everything app. There's also Salman. He's the Telenav Automotive. Telenav Automotive is also an investor, an advisor on this. And then I forget how you say I don't think I can pronounce his name. You said it just recently. He's one of the engineers, I believe.
Tian Chen.
Yeah, better you say it than I do, you know. But when you have different companies coming together to develop that technology, you know, I just think it's bullish for me, just because it's like, if you're talking about a standardization, that means that, you know, everyone's going to need to use this or come together to come up with that consensus on what product is going to be used for all of these different platforms. Because what I see coming into the future is probably something along the lines of whatever your identification is, it's going to travel with you from platform to platform. Right now, if you go on IG or Facebook or Twitter, you can make multiple accounts. You could just make up a new Gmail and stuff like that. Bots are a big issue. And I think a digital ID is going to be taking care of a lot of that, because, I mean, you got to think about how much misallocated funds are happening with or because of social media. You have a lot of misinformation, things of that nature. You have marketing bots and things like that. There's marketing companies that will entice different businesses, or let's say even internet celebrities or whatever the case. You could spend a couple $100 and me and you could have 100,000 subscribers tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And what if we're a malice actor that we have a bunch of bots pumping up our subscriber count or our follower count, and you're a business owner and you want your products and services advertised, and we come up to that person with these fake accounts saying, well, we could advertise it to 100,000 people, give me 20 grand or 50 grand or whatever the case. And that business owner thinks that he's paying for that type of advertisement to reach that many people, and 90% of it's fake. So, digital ID is a bigger solution than I think people think about, because you're going to have a health pass tied to this eventually. You have IBM Health Pass working on some sort of health status that'll be tied to your digital ID. And then you also have the fact that I think they're going to remove all robots from the internet, like any type of bot that's on the internet, like whether it's on Facebook. Because, I mean, people think that, some of these comments that are on Instagram or on Facebook are from real people. I don't know if you remember this, but back then, I don't know, this was like a few years ago or so, where Mark Zuckerberg said there was over 1 billion users on Facebook. Okay. Think about that.
Yeah.
Mark is going around advertising, hey, we got 1 billion users. You got to pay me money for marketing, right? How many of those accounts were fake? Think about that. Yeah. How much money was given to Mark because of fake accounts? How much money was given to Twitter over fake accounts? Think about this. It's a big problem. How much money has been misallocated due to illegitimate audience, right? So, I think this is a bigger solution than people, really think about, because I never thought about it until I got into this industry. I started realizing, I'm like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but I keep getting a lot of marketers coming up to me, saying, hey, give me $50, I'll add this to your subscriber count, or I'll pump your views or your likes. And, I've never done that ever since I started. I've always felt like that's fraudulent marketing. I don't think it's right. But for whatever reason, there's so many people doing it on the internet that it's just become a common ground where it's just because everybody's doing it, it's okay. And I disagree with that 100%. It's not okay. You're tricking people,
Yeah, so I know there's a couple different cryptos that are looking at this problem. There's one crypto called Constellation. They have a
DAG.
DAG. Yeah, DAG. And DAG, yeah, they're really good. And they have a company that they launched on their launchpad called Alchemy that's looking at dealing with that problem, as well as Veracity. And Veracity has the whole proof of view technology, where it's like it just shuts down the bot. It's pretty cool to see that ArcBlock is also trying to deal with that as well, with the digital ID. So that'll be kind of from what I remember from your interview, it seemed like Robert Mao wanted that to be an additional layer on top of Blocklets.
Yeah, I mean, there's unbelievable amount of companies in collaboration on this. At first, well, as an investor, right, we all want to find that one company that's doing it all, right? And, the more at first, when I started, researching into ArcBlock, I'm like, man, this company is doing everything, and I'm reading about it. I'm like, wow, they're just working with so many different companies, but there's still gray area where I'm like, it sounds like this is more than one company coming together to get this thing done, because you have the W3C, you have CERN working on this, you have Microsoft, you have Amazon, you have, IBM. There's so many companies working with them on this. I think everyone has to have a say in it. And I think the reason why you have these big conglomerates coming together, like BlackRock, like Accenture, Hyperledger, and keep in mind too, I don't want to take away from ArcBlock, because they're one of the only companies on the DIF for the DID standardization. You only got a few companies on there. You have ArcBlock, Hyperledger, Accenture, and I think multi-chain, and then there's another company. But essentially there's really not that many people that are front running this technology. So I think it's interesting just to note on that. And I think this is another reason why so many companies are getting together for that consensus on what's going to be allowed or what should be or what shouldn't be. So I think that from what I did talk to Robert recently about just certain things, because I told him, I was like, hey, you've been dormant for a while, or, you've been working in the background. He's like, well, things got to be complete first. And I did notice a few different things. So the WITA, okay, the Washington Industry Technology Association, they pushed a law through in March. This is just certain things I've realized, okay? They pushed a law through in March for crypto work groups, and Robert Mao's a council member there, okay? After they got that law pushed in March, I saw that they listed on Coinbase in July shortly after, So I kind of wonder if this had to do with compliance or regulation. And I think that's more along the lines of why they were so in the background. That's kind of the way I see it. I wouldn't understand, like, you complete the project or you complete the product, stay quiet, law gets done in March, and then you get listed on Coinbase in July, So I feel like there's a ton of events happening. And just from what Robert has told me, he goes, we're going to be revealing a lot of things coming forward. There's going to be revamps on the website. There's going to be a new white paper. There's going to be a lot of new everything coming soon. So, and I talk to my community members about it all the time, because when we do deep dives on this, we get so interested. We really love the company, but we end up with more questions than answers. And I think that's kind of, as an analyst, that's what's fun about this company for me personally. I don't know how big of a researcher you are, but, or how many hours you spend, but I get super into it. I'm really passionate about it. But at the same time, I keep running into more questions, and I even asked Robert directly. I'm like, hey, what's going on with this? What's going on? I can't tell you that yet.
Okay, well, my guys, we had a couple questions, and I see Obscure Warrior and Dave Dowman referring to the Amazon Web Services YouTube. I saw one Amazon Web Services interview with them where Robert basically was going over a mock situation about creating a like a blocklet for the DMV. Was there anything additional there? Was there an additional Amazon link, or was that?
He's a certified Amazon technology partner. So yes. It's not like he's just it's not like he just has an app that's working on AWS. He's a certified Amazon technology partner. Okay. So they're using his tech and he's using their tech, and there's a synergy there. How far it goes.
Yeah, I thought that would be very cool, because some people might want to just use their existing Amazon Web Services server, or their existing, I saw also on the website, it works with Microsoft Azure. So it's like, okay, we can just use our existing stuff. We don't have to try to figure out how to hire developers to work on Solana or Solidity or Move or Rust. We can just build our D app, and the blocklet will take care of most of that for us. That was really cool in my estimation. I really like that. But another thing, go ahead.
No, they definitely want to speed up the process for sure.
Okay, and then gosh, I can't remember the other question. Maybe it'll come to me here. But yeah, so that was the Amazon video. There was one other thing I can't remember. Oh, that's gonna bug me. Okay, go ahead. It'll probably come back to me.
I review thousands of companies, and ArcBlock is just one of the companies that I have a holding for that I really love. Something slipped my mind too. A lot of the things that you just brought up are kind of like refreshing my memory a little bit, because they are cloud partners, and you got to think about it. ETH 2.0 needed miners, right? Well, you don't have miners anymore. ArcBlock is a cloud computing juggernaut. ETH 2.0 needs cloud computing. So I think that's something to note too. There is also, you do have that Acer partnership too. So there's always that. IBM as well. And, here's what I recommend for a lot of people. If you go to ArcBlock.io, there's a newsletter section that you could scroll through, and it has a ton of stuff in there that I think that anybody could really just take home with, do some research on that. I'm glad that we're opening up this book, for ArcBlock, because it hasn't really had the exposure and, something that Robert has shared with me personally. And, again, like I said, I'm not a representative of ArcBlock. I'm not, I'm just an interested investor in it. I love it. It's one of the companies I like a lot. I saw the connections. You guys have seen the videos and stuff like that. Of course, when I have the data right in front of me, it's super easy to just kind of go through it. But it has a lot to offer that I think people should look at. But I also want you guys to take the opportunity to talk with Robert Mao himself and hear what he has to say. He's a super cool guy, but he did admit to me though that, because he's from that software background, such as yourself, you guys are just a different breed. You guys are just different. I'm very I'm very I have high energy, I want to talk with everybody, but he's a builder. He's just he's a software engineer. He's a builder, and for what I have known, for people like this, you have to really pull it out of them.
Now I remember what it was. So I saw in their white paper there was some connection with Algorand, and I couldn't figure out if they were using Algorand's I can't talk today. Consensus mechanism, or if they were actually built on Algorand's.
No, it has that. It's basically like it's for their smart contracts, because with ArcBlock you could deploy blockchains in under 60 seconds. So even though it's still a layer one, it has its own mainnet. You're still going to be able to build DeFi on it, but you're also going to be able to deploy blockchains, on that platform. So, and there's videos on doing that as well, where, instead of, needing all these different people or things, you could just go to the platform and deploy your own blockchain there.
Okay, and part of that uses Algorand's consensus mechanism. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's for the smart contracts.
Okay. All right. So that'll be a really good question to ask him. Yeah, I would love to bring him on and interview him, because I would love to know what's his vision for ArcBlock. Because it's there's different things that we're exposed to on the website, but there's also, what's happening in the background, and why do you feel?
I tell people this all the time. Okay, so you could deep dive on a website, and there's still a ton of data on there that I think that everyone should take a look at, for the research purposes of things. But I still think you should do your research outside of the company website, because, trust but verify, of course, but also at the same time, you have to know where they've been, who they've worked with, where they're going. What other companies are in collaboration for these products or platforms, the consensus of this platform or this product coming out, but when you do that, it opens up a totally different book, and that's really what entices me so much about ArcBlock. I understand the product. I understand the platform. It's there, I get that, but I just get super excited watching or seeing these different companies, like the guy's leading the console at the Cascadia blockchain, and, you got BlackRock going there to listen to him. He's a Forbes console member as well. I don't know if you knew that as well. He's a Forbes console member. So that's another thing that, just random things like this where I'm like, okay, who is this guy? What's going on? And Robert knows this for a fact. There's a lot of, I don't know if this is part of the marketing strategy, but, there's a lot of people asking questions. There's a lot of people saying, Robert, can you just tell us more about the companies you've worked with in the past? Even if you're not working with them now, tell us about who you've been working with. What have you done together? I don't care if the project was completed or, the venture you helped out with. I want to know everything, because we're interested. We want to learn, We asked a question on Twitter the other day. We asked about the tokenomics, and ArcBlock has a crypto to business model or crypto to business model integration. And basically what that is when when your currency is a medium of exchange, it's not an investment tool. And, of course, read between the lines and read between the lines as to why we need to go towards this definition, but ArcBlock's not an investment tool. It's a medium of exchange. Okay. So it has 186 million coin cap. It's a POS system. Okay. So it's a small cap. Okay. The products and services that ArcBlock sells, they need to be paid for by that token. So the companies that are going to be utilizing ArcBlock need to buy this token in order to utilize those services. Okay. So think about that. That's interesting. However, when we were asking about the tokenomics, we just wanted to know the percentage allocations and things of that nature. From what I have put together, there's a 32% allocation for developers to build on top of the platform, and he's looking for software developers to come build with him, and he's inviting those people to him. Off the top of my head, I believe he owns only 15% of total supply, and then there's only going to always be about 100 million for sale to the public only. And then the rest is always going to be kept off. So that's interesting too, from an investor standpoint, as we all know. But again, this is not an investment tool. This is a medium of exchange. You see what I'm saying?
I know a lot of different blockchains, when they're looking for developers, they'll say, okay, we got 20 million set aside for developers, come over here and join, or we got, X amount of million or X amount of a pot of cash set aside for developers. Is there any information on like how much is set aside to build the ecosystem up?
I believe that would be that 32% allocation from total supply. And again, I would talk more further in depth, to him on this, because I don't know how far along that has gone. I mean, he has already a couple companies that are already building on top of the platform. So because of that, maybe that allocation has changed. I'm just going based off of some of the research that I've seen in the past, but that was kind of why I'm interested also as an investor, because typically I don't like to get into a project at ICO or when it's a year old or 2 years. Right. I don't know about you guys, everyone bets different, but for me personally, I'm a big advocate for decentralization. So even when it comes to the marketplace, I typically don't want to touch anything between 3 to 5 years, because I'm looking for a fair marketplace. I don't want the admin to control the marketplace. I want the community to control the marketplace, not the admin. So I typically try to string out the year span between 3 to 5 years minimum. And then I, take a look at other aspects of it. But that's kind of one of my first steps. How long has the company been on market? I don't want to be there when everyone's there, because as an investor, and mind you, keep in mind, we have experience in currency design for, ETH, Polygon, Binance, XRPL, TRX, stuff like that. And, I've worked with different companies in this sector, and because I understand the way these admins think, and the different CEOs, their different strategies and things of that nature. And I understand the circulation process or the decentralization process. So because of that, I have to be more careful with when I get in and when I get out of something as an investor. Okay. So you have to have a different mentality when you're entering to this space. You have to have an investor's mindset, an admin's mindset, but also you have to understand the different forces that are against you. You have your admins, your traders, you have the bots that are within the exchanges, you have fake volume because of those market makers. There's a lot of different things that are against the trader that the trader might not be aware of. But for these reasons, I am very, I have my own standardization process for what I'm going to be holding at that time, based on the lifespan from birth of that token, That's just
gotcha. So I think we'd love to have Robert on the channel. I'll definitely try to reach out to him. And there are a couple different questions I think guys want to ask, and that I have in mind myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, is there anything else you would like to say to the crowd about ArcBlock and what you think about it before we sign off here?
Well, no, not really. I mean, I really love the company. It's, it has a lot of different companies that are working with them. One of the biggest things for me is the two models to it. You have a DID standardization that every person, every company is going to need to utilize from platform to platform. So that's a big market space. And then the fact that its services and its products need to be purchased using ArcBlock currency. So if Amazon is working with them, IBM, Accenture, all these different companies, or any company that wants to build on top of that platform, they're going to need to purchase those currencies. And the companies that he's building with are only enterprise level. So, that's pretty interesting for me. Now, it does have room for even mini apps and stuff like that. So, for people that want to build mini apps or micro apps or whatever the case, it's still a good place to build there. But when it comes to the expansion of the ecosystem itself, you already have two enterprise level companies on top of this platform. And the more companies that come on, or let's say you get one killer app that goes on top of that platform, and let's say it brings 100 million users, it's going to be a different marketplace than what it is today if that does happen. So that's why I'm pretty interested in it.
Cool, brother. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks to everybody who made it out. I will be following up and seeing if we can get Robert on the channel here, and that'll be really nice. That'll be really nice. And if you guys have any other questions, make sure you just put them in the comment section here. And when we can get Robert on, we'll ask him and we'll see what happens. Thanks so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you so much.
Peace.